So hello and thank you for joining this webinar about NIS2, and yeah, let's just wait a minute for everyone to join. And while we are waiting, so can you let me know where are you joining this webinar from? I'm calling in from Zagreb, from Croatia, and yeah, I just like to learn where are you calling from. So let's see, who is it, for which countries is this NIS2 regulation directive actually interesting for? And while we're waiting for your answers, just a couple of notes. So first of all, we are recording this webinar, and you'll be able to watch it later on, and I mean the recording if you want to, and I'll explain at the end of the webinar where you will find the recording. And second, you will be able to download this presentation deck, and I'll also explain you at the end of the webinar where to find this presentation deck to download it in the PDF format. Okay, good. Yeah, so I think we can start now. So welcome to this webinar, what is NIS2 and how to comply with it. My name is Dejan Kosutic, and I'm the main NIS2, DORA and ISO 27001 expert at Advisera. And Advisera is a company that makes compliance easy to understand and simple to use. And this webinar today is streamed through Zoom, also through LinkedIn live events and through YouTube Live. And it will last approximately 45, maybe 55 minutes. And I'll try to make it as interactive as possible so that you can ask me, any questions that you're interested in. And by the way, you can ask me questions even before we reach the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So by all means, feel free to send the questions and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible during the webinar. Okay, very well. Now let's move on to the next slide. So why is this NIS2 important? Well, it's important because it's mandatory for all critical infrastructure companies in the European Union. And there are roughly 110,000 companies that will have to comply. And as you will see later on, basically 2025 is the main year when it will come into effect, especially with the local regulations and legislation that will be published based on it. So in any case, if you are a critical infrastructure company, then NIS2 will be very, very important for your company during this year. So in this webinar today, I'll cover some basic facts about NIS2, but I'll also show you what are the compliance steps, and I'll show you some ways to actually speed up the implementation and compliance with NIS2. And this webinar today is really intended for anyone who works in these critical infrastructure companies and who needs to be and that is actually participating in this compliance project. But it's also actually, this webinar is also interesting for suppliers of companies that are in the NIS2 scope, because I'll also explain, how does NIS2 actually apply to suppliers of NIS2 companies. Okay, so one of my main points today is that this NIS2 directive will probably have a very similar effect on cybersecurity as GDPR, the privacy regulation from European Union, actually had on privacy. So if you remember in 2018 when GDPR was published, it really made, I would say, a huge step forward when it comes to protection of personal data. And again, NIS2 will have probably the same effect, even though it doesn't apply so widely, because GDPR applies to almost any company in the European Union, whereas NIS2 applies only to critical infrastructure companies. So, but for these critical infrastructure companies, I would say that the impact will be almost the same as GDPR had impact on privacy. Okay, so let's see the agenda for today. First, I'll go through some very basic facts about NIS2. Then I'll show you who needs to comply, so what are these 18 sectors, and also what are some other criteria for determining which companies are in the NIS2 scope. Then I'll show you these 16 steps that you have to take to actually comply with NIS2. And I'll also show you how ISO 27001, the cybersecurity standard, can be used actually for NIS2. So basically, what is the overlap and how you can use this standard to comply with NIS2, and also explain how is it important for suppliers, because you will see that 27001 really is relevant for suppliers. I'll have a separate slide about suppliers and what they have to comply with, and then I'll end with questions and answers. Okay, very well. So let me move on to this slide around NIS2. So first of all, NIS2, it was published back in 2022. It became actually, it came into effect in October 2024, so last year. But the thing is that it's actually applicable not directly to the companies. The NIS2 actually is intended as a kind of a baseline for all the EU countries, for them to publish their own local laws. Okay, so basically NIS2 is a directive, and then this is a baseline, and then each country, each of the 27 countries within the European Union, have to publish their own cybersecurity laws based on NIS2, using NIS2 as a baseline, right? Until now, something like 6 or 7 countries actually publish their local laws and regulations. I'll show you actually where to find them, where you can find them and how to read about them. And in some cases, these local regulations actually went more or less with the same requirements as NIS2. In some cases, some countries actually went beyond and published more strict rules than what is written in NIS2. So I'll come to this, but let me first go briefly what are the most important articles within NIS2 as a directive. So I'll switch now the screen and show you these articles 20, 21 and 23. So let me just show you like this. So here on the screen you have this full text of NIS2 directive, and by the way, we'll send you now this link towards this full text of NIS2 directive that you can find on Advisera website. And yeah, when you click this link, of course, you will see this text. Now, just to mention here, if you joined the webinar through Zoom or through YouTube, then you can click normally this link. However, if you joined through LinkedIn, then you unfortunately cannot click this link directly because of some limitations in LinkedIn. However, what you can do is simply copy the URL and then paste it in your browser, and then you will see this link normally in your browser. And at the end of the webinar, we'll also repeat and basically explain you how you can open up all of these links. We'll basically paste them all together at the end of the webinar, so you'll be able to see them all together. But I'll come to this at the end of the webinar. Anyway, so when you open the full text of NIS2 directive, it has something like 60 or something articles, but interestingly enough, only 3 articles are well relevant for the companies, and basically these are the articles in chapter 4, cybersecurity risk management measures, and this is article 21, governance, 20 governance, article 21, cybersecurity risk management measures, and article 23, reporting obligation. So when I click this article 20, you will see the full text here. And then you will see, you know, the text. So member states shall ensure that management bodies of essentially important entities approve cybersecurity risk management measures taken by those entities in order to comply with Article 21, oversee implementation, and so on. So as you can see, there is a direct requirement for the top management bodies to approve and I would say oversee the cybersecurity in a company. And also that members of the management bodies are required to follow training and offer similar training to employees on a regular basis. So as you can see, that there is also this training requirement. When we go for the next article, 21, you will see here that it lists, so basically it explains here that you have to use this mix of, you know, organizational, technical and other measures. Here, you know, that you have to use, let's say, risk management, and basically here it lists the cybersecurity measures that need to be implemented. So as you can see, it starts from, you know, policies on risk analysis, information system security, incident reporting, business continuity, supply chain security, and so on and so forth. As you can see, it's not very detailed here. You know, it's you know, only mentions, I don't know, like basic cyber hygiene practices and cybersecurity training. It doesn't say anything more in detail. Let's say cryptography, again, encryption, doesn't say much. So, in other words, as you can see, NIS2 is rather generic, and basically it expects the local EU countries to publish their own laws, which will be more detailed with their requirements. Now let's go for this article 23. Okay, 22 is nothing interesting, but 23, it's about reporting, incident reporting. And here you can actually see that it specifies several types of reports. So you have to report an event within 24 hours, and then within 72 hours you have to report, send an significant incident notification. So basically this 24 hours is an early warning, and 72 hours is incident notification. And then it defines some other reports, like a final report, intermediary report, you know, all kinds of things. So again, it's a little bit more detailed here. So going back to my presentation, so what I wanted to show you is that these articles are important, but they're not very detailed. Yeah, I also will also send you now this link, which is to an article called the 8 most important cybersecurity and reporting requirements in NIS2. So when you open this article, you will see a summary of the most important things you have to know about NIS2. Now, going further about these essential and important entities, basically the NIS2 distinguishes between essential and important entities, and essential entities have a little bit more strict requirements, but only in terms of, let's say, supervision. So when it comes to compliance with the cybersecurity rules, basically it's the same, but according to NIS2, the supervision is stricter and the fines are higher for these essential entities, and these important entities are not as strictly defined. I'll show you also a little bit of a difference between essential and important entities in the next slide. So let me just move on. Yeah, so when it comes to this transposition to laws of EU countries, so basically how the EU countries will start publishing their own laws, I will actually show you a page on Advisera where you can actually read about these local laws and regulations. I will also send you this link to this. It's called NIS2 Where to Start, and when you open it you'll see something like this. So let me show you. So as you can see, this is this page called NIS2 Where to Start, and you can actually find here lots of interesting I would say resources on NIS2, but what is important here, I'll show you now. When you scroll down, you have these local laws, right? So here you have what are the additional requirements of Croatia Cybersecurity Act when compared to NIS2, also for Belgium, also for Latvia. Now we're in the process of publishing of an article about Italian NIS2 law, and also about Lithuanian NIS2 law. So in about, if you come back to this page in about, let's say, 3 or 4 days, you will see also these 2 additional articles about these 2 countries. And we'll also publish one article which will kind of compare in a table, you know, what are the differences and similarities between all of these articles, all of these countries. So you will see an overview, also this one article about the overview, and we'll publish this probably in about 2 or 3 weeks. So if you're interested in any of these laws, of course you should open up these articles and read about them. What I can tell you is that so far Croatia actually has the most strict requirements. So the top level, I would say, Croatia Cybersecurity Act is more or less similar to NIS2, but then Croatia published this cybersecurity regulations, which is a regulation which is very, very strict, very detailed. Okay. On the other hand, Belgium is not as detailed, but Belgium basically said that you as if you're a NIS2 company, I mean in scope of NIS2, you can either implement cyber fundamentals published by their competent authority, or that you can actually go for ISO 27001. So different approach from Croatia. Latvia is kind of similar to with Croatia, but not as strict. Lithuania, very similar to Latvia. So each country actually takes its own, I would say, approach when describing details of cybersecurity measures. Good, let me go back to the presentation. Yeah, so let's move on to the next slide. Now, the question is really who needs to comply, which companies need to comply. And there are three criteria which are cumulative. So you must check all of these three boxes to, to actually know if you are in the scope of NIS2. So first of all, you need to have, I mean, it's a location, right? You need to operate within at least one country of European Union. So if there is, I don't know, let's say Mexican company operating completely outside of European Union, then of course it's not going to be, it doesn't need to be compliant with NIS2. Second criteria is the size. So typically it applies to companies that are 50 or more employees and more than 10 million euro in revenue. However, here you have to take into account that this is, for the worldwide revenue. So if you have, let's say, a US company that has a revenue of, let's say, 3 million euros within European Union and 7 million euros, or let's say 8 million euros outside of European Union, so in total 11 million euros, then this company would also would basically check this mark here. So in this case, the worldwide revenue would be more than 10 million, and in this case, they would basically check this mark of the size here. And then the last basically element that determines whether you need to be compliant is if you operate in any of these 18 sectors. So I'll actually show you now this article where we describe these 18 sectors, and we'll also share now this link for this article called "Which Companies Must Comply with NIS2." So let me switch now to this article. So here, when you open it, you will see again these three criteria, the same. But what is more important here is this a list of sectors, right? So here in this column you have the sector called, in this case this is energy, and then you will have this subsector electricity, and then type of the entity. So here you will see, energy, then let's scroll down, and within the energy you have, heating, cooling, oil, gas, and so on. Then you have transportation, air transportation, rail transportation, water, and so on. And basically what is also here in these columns is that which types of companies are actually need to be compliant. So micro and small organizations, if they are water utilities, they do not need to comply. So this means if they are smaller than 50 employees, then they do not need to comply. However, if they are mid-size, meaning if they are between 50 and 200 employees, then they're considered important entity, and if they're larger than 200 employees, then they're considered essential entity. So this is the way to read this table here. Anyway, so let's scroll further. You will see several industries here. You also have this ICT service management, business to business, which means managed service providers, but also managed security service providers. So they're also considered the critical infrastructure. Again, for smaller companies, no, but for mid-size, important, and for larger ones, essential. Public administration, space industry, and then other critical sectors: postal and courier services, waste management, manufacturing, production, distribution of chemicals, production, processing, distribution of food, manufacturing, digital providers, and research. So you have these 18 industries here, and you can take a look and see what is really applicable for your company. Okay, going back to my presentation. So what is important to understand is that all of these three criteria are and, okay? So you must be you must operate in EU, and you must be more than 50 employees, and you must be in any of these 18 sectors. If any of these bullets are no, this means that you do not have to comply with NIS2. So if you're not in these 18 sectors, of course you don't have to comply. If you are smaller than 50 employees, then you probably don't have to comply. Again, if you do not operate in EU, then you don't have to comply. Okay, very well. Yeah, let's move on to the next slide. Now let's see what are the steps in the implementation. And just to mention here, these steps are actually compliant. I mean, they fit actually into any of these laws and regulations that are, I mean, local laws and regulations that are published now. So even though no matter in which country you're based, I mean, these steps will, I would say, be applicable to you as well, no matter in which country you operate. Okay, so the first step is basically to perform this gap analysis. Why is this necessary? Because most of the companies already have, you know, lots of existing cybersecurity measures, and in this case, you know, it makes sense, you know, to assess what kind of an effort will be needed for your company in the future. So just for you to kind of to assess the level of effort that will be needed. And what actually is actually what you'll find on our website, we already have this gap analysis tool. So let me switch back to the website. Okay, so gap analysis tool. So here, this is a completely free tool that you can use, and you have this scale that you can use on what is the level of compliance, and then basically there are, you know, questions for each and every requirement, and then you fill this out, and you can very easily measure, you know, you can, you know, fill this out and so on, and basically at the end of this gap analysis tool, you actually have a calculation of your percentage of compliance, but the point is that you actually, you know, test your company against all the requirements and see where the gaps are. Okay, we'll send you now this link to this gap analysis tool so that you can use it on your own. Let me go back to my presentation. Yeah, okay, so the second step is for you to actually perform this, to actually get the senior management support, because, you know, the fact that this is written in the law, it's sometimes not enough for the senior management to understand, you know, the importance of the whole thing. So you have to really present them and you know, make sure that they understand why this is needed. Then you have to set up a project management, meaning you have to define, you know, who is the project manager, who is the project team, what are the deadlines, what are the outcomes, you know, these kind of things. And you also have to perform initial training, meaning that you have to define who is actually, I mean, for the project team and probably for the senior management, you have to, you know, perform this initial training just to make sure that, you know, they understand what is expected from them and how to lead the project in the right way. And by the way, there is also an article which explains these 16 steps. It's called, well, 16 implementation steps for NIS2. And we'll send you also now this link. So in any case, you can open this article and then read about all of these steps, I mean, without watching the webinar. Good. Now let's go on to the next step. The next step is really to write this top-level policy, and this policy is intended actually to define some basic rules, major rules on what you want to achieve with cybersecurity, and also what are the main responsibilities. Because you know, when you start writing detailed policies like, you know, backup policy, access control policy, you still need one top-level policy which will define some basic I would say rules and set the expectations of what you want to achieve with cybersecurity. And then you have to define this risk management methodology. So you have to define rules on how to perform risk assessment and, you know, make sure that everyone understands them. And then you have to perform the risk assessment and treatment itself. So you have to find out where the potential problems can happen with your digital assets. And then you have to write and approve this risk treatment plan. And basically this is an implementation plan for all of your cybersecurity measures that need to be implemented. You define there, who is in charge, what are the deadlines, these kind of things. And then you go for this next step. This is the implementation of cybersecurity measures. This is not normally the biggest, I would say, and the largest effort needed is exactly for this particular step. And actually for that purpose, there is also another article on our website, and it's called a list of required documents according to NIS2. And I'll show you now this how this article looks like, and you can also open it through the link. So let me see. Okay, so list of required documents for NIS2. So basically when you scroll down, you will see here in this table, the requirements from NIS2 on what needs to be documented. And you have also this direct reference to the article from NIS2, and also the suggested documents on how this can be written, right? So basically, for example, let's say that you want this entities, or let's go for this. Members of the management bodies are required to follow training and must offer similar training to their employees on a regular basis. If you remember, this is what I've shown you in Article 20, paragraph 2. And for that purpose, you can use training and awareness plan to comply. So basically, this article basically gives you a guideline from the documentation point of view on how to document each and every requirement. Good. Now, so this is the implementation of cybersecurity measures. Then you have to also set up your supply chain security. You have to, define the top-level policy for handling suppliers, and then you have to start implementing all of the elements of managing supply chain. So, assessing the risks related to your suppliers and their suppliers. Then you have to, clearly define the security rules or clauses with the agreements. You have to enforce these clauses, you have to supervise them, and so on. Then you have this step where you have to define how you're going to assess cybersecurity effectiveness, because since the top management is in charge and actually it's responsible for cybersecurity, you have to make sure that the top management is, that senior management is informed about all the crucial things about cybersecurity, and this is why this step is important. Of course, you also have to set up how you're going to notify incidents toward this 𝘂𝗲𝗄𝗏, the government body which will receive all the notifications around incidents. And then the next step is to set up this continual cybersecurity training. If you remember from this Article 20, you have to do this on a continuous basis, not only for, let's say, IT department, but for your whole company, including your senior management. And yeah, there is an article also that speaks, which is called How to Perform Training and Awareness According to NIS2. You'll see this article also now, the link to this article. And okay, let me see if, yeah, okay, you can see this link now. The next step is to perform internal audits for NIS2 for compliance, just to make sure that everything is kind of checked, is everything working fine. And then based on this, you have to perform this management review. So basically take into account all this information from the measurement, from internal audit, and then this way the management is informed about all the relevant facts, and they have to make some crucial decisions around cybersecurity. And then you have to execute these corrective actions. So whenever you see that something is not working fine, then you need some systematic process on how this needs to be corrected. Okay, I see there is a question from Henry. How to proceed if your country has requested a delay to adopt the NIS2 directive? Well, then you're, I would say, lucky. If you operate in a country which did not publish their local NIS2 laws, then you simply have to wait for these to be published, and you don't have to do anything in between, because again, NIS2 is not directly applicable to companies, what you have to do is basically comply with your local NIS2 law once it's published in your country. So if your country is delaying this, as by the way, most of the countries in Europe are delaying, so out of 27, 6 actually published their local laws. Well, this means that 21 are delaying pretty much their publishing of these laws. Okay, good. Now let me show you 2 products that you can actually use to speed up your implementation. So let me switch the screen. So first I'll show you this NIS2 documentation toolkit. So basically it's our product that enables you to write, excuse me, to write all the policies and procedures and do it, I would say, in a rather quick way. So basically go folder by folder. In each folder you have all the documents that you need. As you will see, these folders are aligned with the steps that I presented you. And yeah, most of these documents are here in this folder 8, Cybersecurity Policies and Procedures. So you see this IT security policy, clear desk and clear desk, clear screen, and so on and so forth. And for each of those documents, you see what are the relevant NIS2 articles. Also this CIR. CIR is basically a kind of an appendix to NIS2, which specifies additional requirements for cybersecurity, for digital infrastructure companies. And also there are some references to ISO 27001 controls, right? And then when you click it, you will see that you actually go into this wizard. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not sure why this doesn't work. Okay, I apologize. Always on these presentations you actually are never sure if things will work properly. So in any case, let me try again. Okay, so let's switch to this NIS2 toolkit and go for cybersecurity policies. I was working on information classification policy. Anyway, so here in this wizard, you actually see that you have to fill out some general information. Of course, you can skip this and you can simply download the document, and you will see once it downloads, you can open it. Now it's on your local disk. So the point is that you have all of these documents on your local disk. And let's see how it looks like. Okay, and here you can see that it already inserts your logo of your company name, that it inserts, several information, about that you actually picked up through this wizard. And you can also, of course, then adapt anything in this document here. So, of course, you can go for this. You have to turn on, of course, the editing mode, and then once you turn on the editing mode, then you can, adapt this document for anything that you want for this. You can adapt this document for your particular company processes, technologies, and so on. So the point being here is that you have all of these documents. You also have this wizard that actually speeds up the writing of all of these documents. Okay, another tool is this company training academy, and this is a learning management system, which if you go here for the lessons library, you have more than 100 lessons around cybersecurity, around NIS2, around ISO 27001. So you can actually filter this out. So let's say that I'm interested only in NIS2 specific. And then you will see that there are several of these lessons around NIS2. Let's say, what is the NIS2 applicability? And then once you open it, you can see the preview. And these are videos usually around 5 to 7 minutes. So they're rather short, and they're rather easy, for everyone to basically learn about these topics. Now, what is great about this learning management system is that once you set up a new training, you can actually select a framework, let's say NIS2 here, and then it automatically suggests you a series of videos based on your target audience. Because, for example, you're not going to show the same videos to, I don't know, your IT employees or your senior management, right? They will probably have to watch different types of videos. So let's say that you want to organize the training for the members of the project team, and then you click next. Then you select, for which country are you interested in, because we already created videos which are specific for a particular country. And you can select your language and then move on next. And then it suggests you a series of videos for this particular country, for this particular target group within your company. And let's close this down. So you see this remote work, the mind of a hacker, security acquisition, development, maintenance, and you already see here these relevant articles that are covered. So NIS2 Article 21, paragraph 2, but also these controls. You can of course see the preview. Anyway, the point is you see lots of these videos there. Then you continue and you set how often you want these videos to be delivered to your target group. Let's say you want one lesson per week, and you want these lessons to be displayed, let's say on Thursday, when you want to start the program, when you want to repeat it, let's say every 2 years. Then you continue. Then you enter the email addresses of all of these people. Oops, wrong button here. Okay. And then you could, of course, you can enter as many email addresses as you want. And then you can define what do they see. Do they see only the videos or all the quizzes or also the testing? And then what will be displayed in the quiz and so on. So basically, once you click activate the program, then the system will start sending emails towards these people, actually asking them to watch these videos, and you will see the report of everyone that has gone through this program and what was their result and so on. So very easy to actually train lots of your employees for various topics around cybersecurity. Good. Now, enough of promotion. Let's go back to the presentation. Good. Now, let's go for the next slide. And this is really around ISO 27001 and NIS2. So first of all, NIS2, as I presented, is not really specific on how to implement cybersecurity. It does encourage the use of international standards. And ISO 27000 series is mentioned in the preamble of NIS2, although it's not mentioned in the main part of NIS2. And basically, ISO 27001 does map very well with Article 20 governance and Article 21 cybersecurity risk management measures. Because if you remember, the governance speaks about, the top senior management responsibilities, the requirements for training. Article 21 speaks about these various cybersecurity measures, so you actually can use 27001 and 27002 standard also to go into more depth to implement this. However, when you speak about Article 23 reporting obligations, 27001 is not very good there because actually NIS2 is more detailed here. Now, the big question is really, of course, what the local NIS2 laws will prescribe. So in case of, let's say, Croatia, which prescribed a very detailed rules for cybersecurity, there is no need to use ISO 27001 because already these regulations, Croatia's regulations are much more detailed than what ISO 27001 says. But in case of, let's say, Belgium, it does allow you to follow 27001. Or in case of some other countries, like for example Italy, it did publish the NIS2 law, but it didn't publish any, for now, it did not publish any detailed rules on how to implement it. In these cases, ISO 27001 will be very useful. Good. Now let's move on to the next slide. And what about suppliers? So for example, let's say that you are a software development company that provides software, let's say, to a telecom company. Telecom company is, especially if it is more than 50 employees, it is a critical infrastructure company. So in this case, if you're a software developer, do you also need to comply with NIS2? The answer is no. So basically the suppliers that provide services to companies in NIS2 scope do not need to comply with NIS2. There is no such a requirement, okay? So if you're a supplier, you do not need to comply with NIS2. However, what NIS2 does, I would say, suggest is that the suppliers actually should go through European cybersecurity certification schemes or international cybersecurity standards. So basically it means that it kind of suggests, let's say, that suppliers should either go for 27001 because this is the most popular international cybersecurity standard, or that they go through this, let's say, European cybersecurity certification scheme. Now this certification scheme is not, I would say, still fully operational yet. It's developed by ENISA. ENISA is a European Cybersecurity Agency. And once this scheme becomes fully, I would say, operational, then companies will basically have a choice of going, either against 27001 or against any of these, I would say, standards within European Cybersecurity Certification Scheme. And additionally, local countries will actually be able to kind of define in which direction these suppliers need to go. What NIS2 does say is that companies within NIS2 have to assess their suppliers. They have to assess the vulnerabilities of each supplier. They have to assess overall quality of products and services provided by these suppliers, and they have to assess their secure development procedures. So NIS2 does define what these NIS2 companies have to kind of watch out when they work with suppliers. So in effect, suppliers do not need to comply with NIS2, but they will certainly need to raise their level of cybersecurity through either 27001 or European cybersecurity certification schemes. Okay, good. Now let's move on to the conclusion, and then I'll answer your remaining questions. So, as you know, I mean, NIS2 will be a challenge, and especially, the local cybersecurity legislation, if it is very detailed. But if you plan, the whole project properly, then it can be done more easily than expected. And of course, for that purpose, Advisera will help you with this NIS2 toolkit. By the way, I didn't mention that, but for NIS2 documentation toolkit, we are also publishing a version of the toolkit which is adapted for local legislation. So for each of these 27 countries, we will create a special version which will be adapted to the local NIS2 laws and which will be translated into local languages. Okay, and also this NIS2 training, as I've shown you also, you can use this to train, very easily train, I would say, a larger amount of people within your company for NIS2 or cybersecurity in general. Good. We'll also send you now this link to our toolkit and training expert. So if you want to schedule a short demo, you can actually use this link and sign up for some time there with our expert. But by the way, we already sent you these links for the toolkit and for this NIS2 training. You can sign up for a free trial there. So I didn't mention this, so you can sign up for a free trial, and without paying anything, you can try both of these products and see how they work. Okay, great. Let's go now to the Q&A session, so questions and answers. Feel free to send any of your questions through chat, and I'll start and I'll answer them since we do have some time left in the webinar. And before I start answering these questions, just a couple of notes. First, feel free to reach out to me directly and ask any question. And we'll send you now the email address so that you can contact me directly if you have any specific questions. Second thing, you can follow me on my YouTube profile and on my LinkedIn profile. So on YouTube, I publish lots of videos around 27001, around NIS2, and around DORA. So if you prefer to watch and to learn through this video format, just take a look at my YouTube profile. And on my LinkedIn profile, I publish regularly news from this compliance and cybersecurity world. So if you want to stay let's say, in touch with the newest developments, start following me on LinkedIn, and you'll get you'll get up-to-date information there. And you can see these links also to my profiles now in this in this chat window. And third thing, my next webinar next Wednesday will be how to use documentation toolkit for DORA regulation for financial organizations. And I'll show which documents are included in this toolkit and how to speed up the writing of all of these documents for DORA. And by the way, DORA is much more complicated and much more detailed than NIS2. So here you see in the chat window, you see these links where you can sign up for my next webinars, either on the Advisera website or on LinkedIn or YouTube, whatever you prefer. So this will be the next webinar next Wednesday. Anyway, let me see now which questions came in the meantime. And okay. A question from Henry. Are there any steps that could be prepared awaiting the directive? In my case, okay. So basically what you can do is go through all of these steps that I've shown you today in this webinar, and actually implement all of these steps, because no matter in which country are you based, you will have all of these elements that are represented in these 16 steps. They will have to be also prescribed by the NIS2 law in your local country. Now the question is whether your country will prescribe some more strict security requirements. If not, then these 18 steps, these 16 steps will be enough. If not, then you will have to actually add additionally these requirements from your local legislation. And by the way, I mean, we have lots of buyers of this NIS2 toolkit, which are buying from countries that are not that do not have their local law yet. So basically they're buying these toolkits to become compliant even before, and simply speed the things up, not to wait for the last moment when the local law is published. Okay, let's see some other questions from James. From a commercial perspective, are you seeing much interest in NIS2? Yes, definitely. So again, from a commercial point of view, I mean, NIS2 and DORA, these two regulate. I mean, NIS2 is directive, DORA is a regulation. So basically, these two legislations are, I would say, the hottest thing in Europe right now, because again, 110,000 companies in NIS2 have to be compliant with NIS2 in Europe, and for DORA, there is something like, I think, 20 or so thousand of these financial organizations have to become compliant. So it's a pretty big thing with these two things. And by the way, if you're maybe in a consulting business, I have a separate webinar which speaks about how to actually become consultant for NIS2 and DORA, and how you can actually enter this business and earn some more money if you're a consultant. So I'm not sure if you are, but if this is of interest for you, simply take a look at this webinar that I published in a couple of months ago, where I speak, what is the opportunity for consultants for NIS2 and DORA. Okay, a question from Abdul. Has Croatia's cybersecurity published the website for company registration? Actually, no. So it's a good point. Some countries actually require that companies themselves register, and this is, let's say, the approach that Belgium has taken, and Italy. So basically, if you're a company that you think are a critical infrastructure, then you have to register, whereas Croatia has taken a different route. Basically, Croatian government or government authority itself assesses and defines who will be the critical infrastructure, who not. So it's interesting, from one country to another, there is a different approach. In Croatia's case, there is no registration, and you actually, as a company, have to. So the the government authority for cybersecurity will self-initiately, so to say, define which company is a critical infrastructure and which not. Good. Yeah, so let's move on and see if there are any other questions. Yeah, I think I answered all of the questions now. Good, very well. So yeah, let's. So we're 15 minutes in the webinar, which is great. So let's wrap up the webinar, and just a few words before I finish. So as I mentioned, this webinar today was basically too short to go into details and show you each and every step in much more detail. So it was more about for you to get an overview of who needs to be compliant, what are the general steps, these kind of things, and we'll organize other webinars which will go into more detail on each of these specific topics. And yeah, regarding the presentation deck, we will publish this PDF presentation deck basically on the same page where you joined the webinar. So if you joined through LinkedIn or if you joined through YouTube, then we will publish the link to this download for the presentation deck in the comments section. And we'll do it in about, let's say, 10 minutes from now. So if you can just leave this page open where you're watching the webinar now, just wait and come back maybe in 10 or 15 minutes. And in the comment section, you will see the link to this PDF presentation deck. Also, we will publish all the links that I mentioned today. We will also publish all of these links. And if you actually are joining through LinkedIn, then you will see all of these links in a clickable format. So after the webinar ends, actually these links become clickable, so you will be able to click them there. Yeah, if you joined through Zoom, so if you register on the on Advisera's website and joined through Zoom, then we will send you the link for this PDF download for this presentation deck, and also for all the links we will send them through email. Okay, so you will see this email either later today or tomorrow morning. Okay, finally, we'll send you now this short survey. So it's very short. It's only 3 questions, and I would really appreciate if you could open it and give me some feedback on today's webinar, so that I can improve it and make it better next time. And this will be all. Thank you very much for your participation, and I hope you have enjoyed this webinar. Have a nice day.